Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bill Brown. I'm on the board of directors of the Canaan Old Timers Association. And just a quick note, I started when I was 6 years old, but this is my 40th year coaching at the high school. So, pretty excited. And I need to raise. Who do I speak to about that? Before we begin I will welcome everyone, and then our Master of Ceremonies, Terry Diamond, will take over. We'd like everyone please to rise and face the flag and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome everyone to our, I think it's our 41st Canaan Old Timers honoree ceremony. Just a quick little blurb about the Canaan Old Timers. The Canaan Old Timers Association is a nonprofit organization established in 1982 for the purpose of honoring local athletes and coaches for their accomplishments in the field of sports. In addition, the organization recognizes current NCHS athletes through the awarding of scholarships that recognize their athletic sportsmanship and accomplishments. Summer camp scholarships, the New Canaan Sports Council, the Volunteer Ambulance Corps, the New Canaan Police and Firemen, New Canaan Football, as well as other local community groups have also received donations from our organization. Our fundraisers are the New Canaan Old Timers Honoree Ceremony here today, the New Canaan Old Timers Pancake Breakfast, and I think homecoming is on October 21st this year, so we'll see everybody there, and the annual Vin Iovino Scholarship Golf Outing. Since our inception, we have recognized over 300 former athletes and coaches. A couple quick thank yous and a couple quick announcements, and then Terry will take over. Quick thank you to Coach Carosa and the New Canaan Rams football team for helping today. And they don't know it, but they're going to take everything down while all of us sit and eat donuts. So you guys are going to be, while we're sitting there eating donuts, you guys are taking everything down. So thanks, fellas. Have a great season. Thank you. Anyone interested in joining our New Canaan Old Timers group, please see Lauren at the table or any of us, and we'll be happy to talk to you about our Old Timers group. When we call you an old timer, it doesn't mean you're old, it just means you're old. But we'd love to have more, and we're trying to get some younger old timers involved in keeping this wonderful tradition going. I mean, look at this, we have 100 and something people today, it's just fantastic. So thank you, and we're looking forward to honoring and having more people join our organization. We also have over there, behind the table over there, are some NC t-shirts and golf shirts and stuff, so that's all available for purchase, so please, on the way out, grab one of those. I think that's it, but one other thing real quick, we just want to quickly acknowledge our past honorees. So if you're able to, with our past honorees, please stand, please, and we'll just give you a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you for being here, guys. We really appreciate it. Okay, now I would like to turn everything over to, when were we at Center School together, Mr. Diamond?
A long time ago.
Long time ago. And Mr. Malott was our gym teacher. And yes, Charlie Malott is the greatest. Hi, Mr. Malott, you're the greatest. Still one of the greatest days of my life when I roofed my first kickball at Center School. I'll never forget it. And we used to slide to second base on the asphalt. We were tough. I'm just kidding. Okay, so I'd like to introduce our Master of Ceremonies, who is our historian, and who does a great job, and we're very, very fortunate to have him, and he will be the Master of Ceremonies for the rest of the program, Mr. Terry Diamond.
Thank you so much, Bill. Thank you all for being here. It is my honor and a privilege for me to be here for the 40th annual New Canaan Old Timers ceremony. And couldn't have picked a better day for it. Truly blessed to be here. I want to thank some specific people who attended here. Kevin Moynihan, our first selectman, hardest working guy in New Canaan. Thank you, Kevin, for all you've done for this town. Bill mentioned Mr. Malat, one of the greatest influences on my life, one of the earliest influences I ever had in terms of athletics, and I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Mr. Malat. Thank you so much for everything. Coach Lou Marinelli is here. Winningest coach in Connecticut football history. Last season, Coach won, I believe, his 13th state championship. Amazing. And for anybody who's seen it, I'm sure you have, the picture of him being carried off the field by his players. That was concerning. A little concerning, not because of Coach, not because I knew Coach could handle it. It was concerning because I knew some of the knuckleheads who were carrying him off, and I thought they'd drop him. They didn't drop him. He made it to the sideline okay, and he's back on the sidelines this year for his 42nd season. And anybody who was there on a Thursday night at Dunning Field, it seemed like the whole town was out. It was just a packed stadium. For that to happen sort of midweek, it really is sort of a microcosm of what New Canaan is in terms of a town that really supports and loves its sports. And that's kind of the whole purpose of what we're here for today. I talked about it last year, and I think it bears repeating. It's an amazing town, a town of 20,000 people. And, we've got two guys playing in the NFL. They're going to be playing a little bit later on today. We've got a guy who spent a decade in Major League Baseball. We have another one who spent 15 years and was a captain of the Montreal Canadiens, 15 years in the NHL. We've got, 25, 26 players playing college football across all divisions. We've got lacrosse players playing at some of the best institutions in the world. And all this is great, but none of this would happen if it wasn't for the athletic figures of the past. The sports figures of yesteryear are the people who made all of that happen, who laid down the tracks, who blazed the trails, who set the foundation for everything that came afterwards. They served as role models, they left a legacy, and they continue to inspire generations who followed. And again, that's what we're here to celebrate today. That is the purpose of the New Canaan Old Timers Association, and that's to keep the past alive so we can continue to grow the future. Now, on the subject of inspiration, I'd like to say a little something about some people without whom none of this would be possible. Lawrence Saratani, longtime Secretary and Treasurer for the Old Timers. Lauren's going to be stepping away from one of her roles, but as she told me after that article came out in the New Canaanite, it was wrong. She's not going to step fully away, and we did make a retraction and a correction. So Lauren's going to stay with us, but she does the work of about 2, 3, 4 people, and she's going to give up 1 or 2 of those people, and she puts up with us, and she's amazing. So thank you, Lauren. And then I'd like to thank, of course, our president, Len Paglialunga.
Hey, Lenny!
And our vice president, Rick Erickson, who, after 20 years of holding these roles, are going to be stepping down. Now, they're going to be stepping down, they're not going to be stepping away. Rick, I still fully expect you to bring pizza to our meetings. Lenny, we're still going to have meetings at your house, whether you and Liza like it or not. Rick, if we get crazy, he keeps us grounded in reality. If any of the speakers go over, he goes nuts. One year we had a speaker, I'm not going to mention his name, but I think he lasted about, 23 minutes or so? 23-minute speech. And Rick was, pulling his hair out, and, you could see what happened. So. And congratulations to Rick and Karen on your 50th wedding anniversary celebrated yesterday. No better place to celebrate 50 years than here waving me at Old Timers. So truly romantic, Rick. Great job. And then, of course, Lenny, your magnetism, your instincts, your generosity, are unmatched. You know, Kevin is the first selectman of New Canaan, but you are the unofficial mayor of New Canaan. And you're the best. Love you. All right, now let's get on with the honorary portion of the program. Chris Hawk Kinsley. Yeah. Just the name brings goosebumps. You first burst onto the New Canaan sports scene in 1961 when, as a member of the Cub League baseball team, the Eagles, he was named Most Improved Player. And he earned that. Boy, did he earn that. And of course, who can forget in 1964 when, as a doubles player for the Lake Club, Hawk and Terry Gallery beat Lauren Brinkerhoff and the great Brad Davis of the Field Club 6-3, 3-6, 7-5 in an epic match. That's it. Go Lake Club. Chris grew up in a great neighborhood over on Village Drive in the Fieldcrest area. With the Gillespies and the Keatings, he organized the Village Drive Villains and organized games and competed against the Tommy's Lane Tigers across Farm Road, who consisted of the Francos and the Morrisons, and usually ended up on the wrong side of the stick when it came to Hawk. It was just the start of a long and storied athletic career for Chris Kinsley, one that spanned more than 4 decades as one of the most visible, valued, and underrated figures in New Canaan sports history. At New Canaan High School, Hawk played freshman soccer and basketball before transitioning to football as a sophomore. He emerged as a valued teammate and an underrated athlete on those storied New Canaan football teams in the 1960s, coached by Joe Sikorsky and Bob Lynch. Over 6 feet tall, clocking in at about 165 pounds back then. Had it been any other town, any other time, Chris probably would have been a star, a go-to. But these were teams stocked with people like Lenny, Peel, Pennington, Bob Pennington, Bob Kircher, Lem James, Tony Superdi, Ben Hardy. I could go on and on. Chris was okay to stay out of the spotlight, yet would do anything to help his team win. He was selfless, he was modest, he was always up, enthusiastic. If the Rams ever found themselves uncharacteristically down in a game, Chris was the first one to rally the troops, pick them up, give them a shot of energy, and was the loudest guy out there. First one to celebrate and congratulate any teammate anytime they did something great. And there were a lot of great moments on those teams. He and Mark Tataro would play defensive ends on scout team against the vaunted New Canaan end sweep, helping Coach Sikorsky work that play to perfection. Now, this is not to say Chris never did anything on the field himself. He did. And when he would make a catch, make a block, a hit, anything, it just gave everyone that little bit more reason to get excited. His presence in the locker room, practice, the sidelines was infectious. It was all about the energy, positive energy. Chris had fun. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And if there's one thing I'm sure of after talking to many of his teammates, those teams would not have been as successful as they were without Hawk. Every team needs Chris Kinsley. He was one of the very select few who maintained an even bigger presence in New Canaan athletics in his post-NCHS career. He played or coached every sport imaginable. Started in the summer of 1970 when Steve Banco asked Chris if he could coach a summer league team. And he coached the likes of Bobby Festo, Richie Booth, the Hutchinson twins, Leo Carl, the Van Dusen brothers. His team won the championship that year and did so again the following summer. From there, Hawk moved on to Babe Ruth while still a college student at Mount St. Mary's in Emmitsburg, Maryland. Chris inherited the Giants, who had only won 2 games the previous year. Coming home from school on weekends to observe tryouts, he and Fiverr picked the team. And even though he was working at Belcher's bicycle and lawn repair shop, he would give batting practice to 3, 4, 5 kids a day at Mead Park. And the efforts paid off. The Giants were runners-up that first year, and the next 2 years they won the Babe Ruth Championship. In 1976, Hawk joined the Army and went overseas to Germany for 3 years. He played on the flag football team there and went to the finals of the USAF EUR championship game held in the snow at the Olympic Stadium in Munich. He was in charge of the basketball team, traveled all around Germany to the various clubs, and played all over the country. His HQ Battery track and field team won the base championships with a 5-member team on which Hawk did the throws and the hurdles. He returned home to New Canaan and picked right up where he left off. He worked for Phil Rose at the New Canaan YMCA, and along with Peel Pennington, helped run the rec league there. He coached a junior high school basketball team and started a travel program out of the Boys and Girls Club. He won rec basketball championships with Gates, flag football championships with the Veggie Barn, was an assistant coach for the late Tony LaVista on the girls basketball team at New Canaan High School, and also coached the girls freshman softball team. Hawk joined the New Canaan Police Department around that time and soon joined the coaching ranks in the Police Athletic League, PAL Pop Warner. Those were legendary teams back then. And Hawk was in charge of the Blue Knights. And the Knights, as everybody knows who played there and anybody who was around New Canaan football at the time, this was the pipeline. This was the pipeline right into Coach Marinelli's rebuild and renaissance of the New Canaan Rams football program. And it was Hawk's job to teach the kids the basics so that by the time they got to Coach Marinelli, the fundamentals were in place. Time could be spent doing other things in order to get better. Now, the night Coach Marinelli was hired, came right down to the field, talked to Chris about what he wanted. The kids on the field that night won the 1982 state championship for the Rams. First of the 13, as I mentioned before, for Coach Marinelli. Everyone who played for Hawk loved Hawk. As a cop, he was loved and respected by the youth of New Canaan. One of his former teammates called him the Pied Piper, and that's what he was. He would sometimes make his way over to Connor Field when he was on an afternoon shift with the NCPD, and when the girls' soccer team was there and they'd score a goal, he would sound the police siren and flash his lights at the entrance of the field. It was it's something we do today, but you could say it originated with Chris Kinsley. He continued to show his dedication to athletics after he left the NCPD in the early 90s. He taught in the Bridgeport public school system for more than 2 decades. He coached basketball. He started up a cross-country and track program. He even incorporated a garden club. After retiring, Hawk now spends a lot of his time playing guitar and singing with his various groups around Fairfield and Westchester counties. He's a true Renaissance man, a true legend, an all-around wonderful human being. From day one has shown a love and a dedication to his community, his family, and his country. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Hawk Kinsley.
I'm not sure who that guy was that he's talking about. When Terry first called me up, it was about 9:30 at night, and I was trying to learn a new song on the guitar, and he says, Hawk, we just voted you as an honoree for the Old Timers Club. And I looked at him, I looked at the phone, and I went, do you realize I was 3rd string on that championship team? And I only got in when Lenny and Peel had run up the score to 72-0. He said, oh, no, it's not for your athletic prowess, it's for your coaching ability. But anyway, yeah, that's a lot of stuff. Brings back a lot of memories, but that's what being a New Canaan Ram is. A lot of connections. The connections stay with you. Another connection, one of the kids that I coached, Scotty Overbeck, was at North Carolina, and my son was a junior in high school, and he wanted to go play football at North Carolina. My son was like me when I was in high school. He was 6'1", he might have weighed 160 pounds, but he was a damn good wide receiver, and he could catch the ball. So we sent film down to Mac Brown at the time, and Scott arranged for us to come down and see the coach. The coach was going someplace, had his entourage over his shoulder, and he and Scott introduces us. He looks at my son and he goes, whoa, number 80? And yeah, that's what I wear in high school. He goes, oh, you look a lot bigger on film. Right then and there, my son said to himself, maybe this one isn't for me. But he went on to play at Wagner, was a two-time All-American first team at Wagner in the Division I AA, as they called it back then. And the Dallas Cowboys gave him a call and flew him down for a tryout. They wanted him to put on some pounds and get to be 250 and play tight end. And he said, I know how you're going to do that, and I'm not doing that. But now he's 250 pounds. Thank you, Budweiser. But the connections are throughout Fairfield County and the state of Connecticut. 1983, 84, I was a police officer, and one of the perks is being a cop who was friends to the kids in town at the parties. Next. Was getting tickets to ball games. Yankee Stadium, had a friend, Ricky Engelke and Tony Ruggiero had box seats behind home plate, and I got them. I took my son Chuck and I took Mary Beth McNichol and Trish Cook with me. I was trying to keep them out of trouble. And we went to Yankee Stadium, we sat down in the middle of the first inning, right behind home plate, and all of a sudden some guy grabs me by the shoulder and goes, hey Hawk, what are you doing here in the good seats? And I turn around and it's this guy Artie Haddad, who went to Mount St. Mary's with me. He's 2 or 3 years older than me, coaching the baseball team up at Abbott Tech. I introduced him to Mary Beth, Trish, and my son. He turns around and there's a guy standing there, a very nondescript guy. He's standing there and he says, you know this guy, don't you? And I looked at the guy and I said, nah, I don't know him. He says, you played against him in the championship game at Boyle Stadium on Thanksgiving when you played Danbury. And I looked at him and I said, oh yeah, I don't know. It's Darryl Duhan. This guy went to Notre Dame. They only had 2 running backs at Danbury. That was their whole game plan. Run, 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 run. And I looked at him and I said, oh, hi, Darryl, how are you? And he looks at me and the first thing he says to me, we should have kicked your ass. And right away, now I'm no longer 6'1", 165 pounds. And I'm looking at him and I said, huh? Let me tell you something, sweetheart. I said, opening kickoff, I knocked you on your ass. And right away he starts coming over the seats. The ushers are coming in. Artie was about this tall. It's like trying to get in between us. And Charlie's going, I'm going to tell Mom if you get in a fight. So anyway, so it's nice to know that being a champion comes with a lot of pride. Just going to New Canaan High School, it's a lot of pride. We've had a lot of champions. We've had a lot of excellent athletes. And I mean, when I was a kid, I used to go up and watch Donnie Overbeck, who's going to be honored later on today. I used to watch him. I used to watch Libby. I used to watch Milt Ward, Pete Devenir, Jim Neal, Billy Saunders. All those guys, when I was a little kid, I used to watch and I used to go, man, I can't wait to go and participate in those bonfires that they had at the old high school on Friday nights, because we played on Saturdays. We didn't have lights back then. But it was something inside that made you, as a little kid, go, I want to do that someday. I really do. Now, I wasn't very good at it, but when I got through, I learned enough from Coach Sikorsky, Bob Mosley, the track coach at New Canaan High. I learned enough from those guys to carry over. And the one thing I learned about how to be a good coach was care for your kids. Watch them, try and let them improve, teach them the basics. I was always good at that. The trick plays I couldn't do, really, so you were safe with that. But if you're just good to the kids and you try and teach them and make them better people and better athletes, you've done your job. And all those years of coaching was a blast. The funniest part was, where's Ruggiero? Where he is? There he is. Umpire for Babe Ruth, Tony Ruggiero. He and I were very good friends. And when I would coach, the games sometimes would get boring. So Tony would give me the look, he'd go, and I go, next pitch, I'm out. I'm off the bench. I'm out in the middle kicking dirt up on the plate, yelling at him. What do you mean that was a strike? And he's up in my face like this. And the parents are in the stands going, what's he doing? Now, the kids on the benches, they all know that that's what we did. We did it. And the kids are laughing and stuff. And the parents are finally going, oh, they're just staging this for us. It's fun. Athletics is fun. It's something that should be fun. And if I've learned anything about my coaching back then and the coaching now that my son does, basketball at Ludlow, football at Darien, now up at Newtown, is parents, your kid ain't an All-American. And if he stinks in practice and doesn't put in the time, the coaches know that. Don't go up to the coach and don't go to the AD, ooh, he's not playing my son. The coach is doing his job, or she is doing her job. So take a back seat. Take a reality check. Go watch a college football game if you think your kid's that good to play. And look at the players that aren't playing on the sidelines. And you should get a little hint that your kid ain't good enough. He's got to get better. And that's what you want to do, make your kid get better. And have fun. Thank you to the committee. Thank you, everybody. Rick Erickson didn't haul me off, so I guess I'm okay. Thank you very much, everybody.
I had a chance to talk to Vin Iovino. It's always great to talk to him, and he always talks about the past and his time when he was the athletic director at Canaan High School. And Vinny talks about the athletic community as being a family back then. He talks about families who were important parts of that and how he felt so blessed to be athletic director at a time when the athletic community could be like a family. And one of the families that stands out for Vinny as being one of the best is the Hobbs family. And one of the best representatives of that family is one of our honorees today, and that is Ian Hobbs, who again comes from a great New Canaan family, a family that's part of the fabric of this community. He was born in New Canaan, grew up in New Canaan, still resides in New Canaan. Playing in the 70s here in town, he played right across the way on these fields, every sport that was offered, whether it was rec soccer, skating at the Winter Club, playing Pop Warner where Bill Brown was his coach, playing baseball. He played for Jim Luciano's Bison's team alongside Scott Vanderhayden, J.P. Curcio, Chris Velazzi, Frank Bianco. That was the first team in New Canaan baseball's majors history to go undefeated at 18-0. 1980, as a fourth grader, he was on the first elementary school team to ever play lacrosse for the recently founded New Canaan Lacrosse Association, and as is the case, once you get that bat and glove taken out of your hand, you get a lacrosse stick at that age, that's it for baseball. And Ian was hooked. Played alongside such New Canaan lacrosse legends as Graham Harden, H. Harden, Andy Towers, Matt Kelly, and of course coached by the legendary Howard Benedict. Ian attended New Canaan High School from 10th to 12th grade, and as a sophomore, made the varsity lacrosse team as a goalie. That team won the 1986 state championship and was runners-up in the FCAC championship. Ian became the starting goalie as a junior in 1987. This is a team that beat the New Jersey state champions, the Massachusetts state champions, as well as perennial powerhouses from Yorktown and Chaminade. Their only loss that season was to Garden City, which was the top-ranked team in the country at that time. New Canaan beat Wilton 4 times that year, including in the FCAC and the state championship. The 1987 New Canaan Rams are generally considered to be the greatest team in the storied history of New Canaan boys lacrosse. The following year, Ian was named captain, along with Pete Dean, and despite a mass exodus of star power due to graduation, this team improved steadily throughout the year, peaked in June when they had an upset overtime win in the FCAC finals over a very strong Wilton team, before losing a week later to the same Wilton team in a nail-biter for the state championship. Ian was once called, quote, one of the best goalies anywhere in the country by none other than Howard Benedict. He also played varsity hockey at New Canaan High School and was a steady stay-at-home defenseman on a team that brought New Canaan High School back to respectability and peaked by making the 1988 FCAC championship, which they lost to Richfield, and again, another nail-biter, another tight game. Ian actually played that game with a cast under his glove due to a broken hand that he had suffered early in the season. Following graduation from Canaan High School in 1988, Ian attended Johns Hopkins University, where he played on the varsity lacrosse team. His freshman year, that team made the national championship game in 1989 with an 11-1 record, eventually losing to Syracuse, 13-12 at Byrd Stadium, and was widely considered to be the greatest lacrosse game ever played. Ian continued to play lacrosse at Johns Hopkins, which was a powerhouse at the time, was always considered to be a top teammate and top contributor. He moved back to New Canaan and joined his family's building company. His dedication to New Canaan has been proven time and time again. First, when he volunteered as an assistant coach to Coach Benedict in 1998 and 1999. More recently, Ian has stayed involved in New Canaan's youth sports by serving on the Winter Club board for 7 years. He was president of the Winter Club for 3 and oversaw its hockey program for 4 years, starting and growing the Ice Cats girls hockey program, along with several other devoted parents, is Ian's proudest accomplishment during his tenure with the Winter Club. He was also a board member of the NCLA for 4 years, following in his dad's footsteps, who was a founding board member of the NCLA. He also coached youth hockey and lacrosse in town for 6 years. Ian Hobbs has New Canaan coursing through his veins, and is someone who loves this town as much as anyone I know. Please join me in congratulating Ian Hobbs.
I was thinking about it as I was sitting here, all the great sports and events in New Canaan sports history, and when I think of the most competitive athletic event there was in New Canaan, it's the Walter Shaw 6th grade ballroom dancing class. And you gotta just picture that on one side of the room were all the boys, the other side of the room were all the girls, and they had their white gloves on, and then Walter would come up and say, "Boys, go choose your dance partner." And every 6th grader is sprinting across that dance floor. And guys are pulling their hamstring, you're going as fast as you can, and you're about to ask a girl, and all of a sudden you see a guy elbow you out of the way, and they ask the girl in front of you, and you're like, "Oh my God," and you gotta shuffle down. By far the most competitive thing I've ever been a part of, and it helped to make me the man I am today. And I'm sure a bunch of you know what I'm talking about. I want to thank the Old Timers Association. This is a real honor to me. I'm born and raised in Canaanite. I grew up, and my father would talk about the great legends in New Canaan's athletic history. And I love listening to these lists of legends. Some of those were Gary Liberatore, Len Paglialunga, the Tomaselli family, Pete Demerly, Kurt Horton, Wilkie Gilmore. Wilkie Gilmore actually held a higher level than greatest athlete because my dad and uncle would sit around and say, he was the most feared guy in the knockout pit at Center School. And that's a fear compared to best athlete. There were coaches like Sikorsky, Lynch, Usher, Murphy. And then I grew up with my own eyes. I still remember watching Coach Marinelli's first New Canaan win at Ripon High School in 1981, pulling New Canaan out of a 3-year winless streak. I idolized the athletes from the early 80s. Guys like Pat Shovlin, Wayne Van Dusen, Jason Cooper, the Trout brothers, that amazing era of New Canaan basketball teams that I'm sure most people in New Canaan can't even imagine right now. There was the 1982 hockey team that lost in the state finals. There were great lacrosse players. There was Pat Burt, Tim Vivian, Paul Keener, Boyd and Graham Harden, Tommy Towers, and many others. I just looked at those guys as if they were professional athletes. Like many here, I love New Canaan athletics and could talk about the legends and the great teams for a long time. I'm lucky to have had great coaches throughout my youth, high school and college career. How can you beat having Bill Brown as a 6th grade football coach? My father coached me in football, baseball, hockey throughout my youth, and he never missed a game. And I owe so much to my mother and father, who always supported my athletic endeavors. They let me choose my own athletic path, and they were there to support, push, and be there whenever I needed them to take my own path. Howard Benedict was just a tremendous impact on me. He not only taught the lacrosse teams about being great at lacrosse, he taught us how to thrive in the real world and in life. And it wasn't always the most direct message with Coach, but he always had an impact on us, and I think we all take a lot of him with us. I look and I grew up in this golden age of youth sports. We played nonstop pickup sports with neighborhood kids. I got to thank my older brothers, Scott and Mike. They always welcomed me to play with their older friends, and we had neighborhood games of running bases, capture the flag, tackle football in the snow. We had intense games of wiffle ball and swim races. We didn't have private lessons, speed coaches, private club teams, but we did have tackle football games in the corner of Meade Stadium during a varsity football game. We had impromptu baseball games at Old Saks, of street hockey and pickup basketball games in our driveway. We came home after dark with dirty and ripped clothes. Cuts and bruises were badges of honor, and we couldn't wait until the next day when we could do it all over again. We didn't go to overnight tournaments with travel teams. Back in the 70s and 80s, we played on house league hockey and lacrosse teams, competing against our elementary and middle school classmates. Somehow that system developed dozens of college hockey and lacrosse players. Maybe the youth sports model should take a look at that, how it used to be done. And now I sound like a real old-timer, I know. During my athletic career, as was mentioned, I had a great opportunity to play on 3 great teams, and in addition to the Bison being coached by Jim Luciano, Fred Mazzella, Vin Sochi were also coaches. I mean, you can't top that coaching staff. The 1987 lacrosse team was a gift. I was along for the ride, really. It was just, you could never have put that group of athletes together. I still look back at that Garden City game. It keeps me up at night and bothers me, but not much I can do about that. And that 1989 team, I wasn't a great player, but I was a great teammate on that team. And, the chance to play with those guys and still be friends with them today, they stand out. And so speaking just from a perspective on those teams, I've been an important player on the team, I've been a role player, and I've been a bench warmer. And, look, there's common traits on those 3 teams that really led us to success. And they all had great coaches who made the players better through the course of the season. They put players in a position to succeed. Each team had a group of selfless leaders who held us accountable and led by example. And we were a great group of friends, and we'd do anything for each other. There's an old assistant lacrosse coach at Hopkins, and he sent me an email that best describes what makes a great team, and I don't think I can top it. He said, every season's a new opportunity to see if you can bring the group together with everyone playing as well as they can, understanding how hard it is to achieve the chemistry necessary to be successful. Championship teams are characterized by the 40th guy being as invested in and recognized by teammates for their part in the success on the team as the first guy, knowing that only so many get to play on game day. Any championship is to be valued as a special season regardless of the age and level. The reality is that not everyone gets to be on a championship team. The most talented team doesn't always win. However, the best team over the course of a season usually does. A season's a journey, not a destination. It takes everyone.
Project.
All right. So anyways, I thought that's the best description of a successful team. I just want to say I'm humbled by this honor and know that I'm not here because of the individual accomplishments and physical abilities like some of the other people here today. I'm here because I played on some great teams, and while I wasn't one of the best athletes on these teams, I do like to believe I was a great teammate. It was always about the team. I still love my teammates and coaches like family, and I'd do anything to walk onto a field one more time with my friends, standing shoulder to shoulder, knowing we're about to take it to the other team with everything we got. Thank you.
Seems like every year there's a center school knockout pit reference. We should bring the knockout pit back. That would be good for today's youth. Life lessons learned in the knockout pit. Something just as rare as a knockout pit in today's athletics in high school is a multi-sport athlete. Got some of them over here. Got some good multi-sport athletes over here, but it's increasingly rare because everything's specialized, everything's year-round. You got fall this, spring that, summer camps, and all this stuff. Our next honoree is someone who is not only a multi-sport star in high school, She was a multi-sport star in college. She's the very definition of a student athlete. She's a trailblazer for young female athletes who followed in her wake. And again, talking to Vin Iovino this morning, he was talking about this honoree, and he called her not only a role model, but someone who he was so blessed to be able to build an entire program around. And it's not just a field hockey program or a lacrosse program. This is someone who he could build an entire athletic program around for young ladies. And I'm talking about Kate Dawson, New Canaan High School class of 1990. Now, Kate moved here with her family in 1978 and went to West School. And immediately after settling in town, the Dawson family joined the Winter Club, which started decades of skating for her family. As a young girl, Kate caught the sports bug after watching her brother play ice hockey and asked her dad if she could also play. And she did. Mr. Dawson, a great man who later became president of the Winter Club, approached the board, and Kate became the first girl in an all-boys hockey program, something her late father was very proud of, as it paved the way for many young women in ice hockey in the area, including a young lady named A.J. Malesko, who would one day win a gold medal at the 1998 Olympic Games in ice hockey. In addition to ice hockey, she played on many youth baseball, softball, and soccer teams. She was a top hitter for the Apaches, and she played alongside the likes of Ace Gallo, Chad Elliott, David Lawler. Softball, she was a lights-out pitcher. She probably would have started for the Rams in that sport, but just like everybody else, she got introduced to lacrosse and field hockey, and the rest, as they say, was history. While at New Canaan High School, Kate earned 8 varsity letters in field hockey, basketball, track, and lacrosse, while also being an active participant in the Madrigal Choir and theater program. Kate was a selfless teammate. She would much rather rack up an assist than score for herself, and was a huge part of the growth and success of the girls lacrosse program, which was back in its infancy back then. There was no FCAC title, there was no state title, which is truly shocking to believe when you look at the sport today, especially around here, and see the stands filled and girls getting offers and going on to great colleges. It's because of players like Kate that we got to where we are today. While at New Canaan High School, Kate's field hockey team was coached by the great Sue Schwartle, who's here today. They won 2 FCAC championships for sophomore and senior years and made it to the state semifinals their senior year before losing to Brantford, who became the eventual state champion. That sophomore season marked the first time in program history New Canaan had won the FCAC championship. Kate won all FCAC and all state honors in field hockey, indoor track, and was captain of the lacrosse team. She was selected to the Nutmeg State Games and played in the Women's National Festival for field hockey. In her senior year, Kate decided to run indoor track, something she had never done before. Incredibly, she qualified for the state open meet in both the 1,000 and the sprint medley relay. Her time of 3 minutes and 18 seconds in the 1,000 was only 4 seconds off the school record. Again, this is somebody who had never run track before, just decided to run. She was kind of Forrest Gump, female Forrest Gump, who was also pre-med, so. Upon graduation from New Canaan High School, Kate received the Peter Myers Sportsmanship Award, the State High School Scholar Athlete Award, the Fairfield County Medical Associates Award for Biological Sciences, and the prestigious Joe Sikorsky Memorial Award given to the top male and female senior athlete. Kate went on to attend Holy Cross, where she played D1 field hockey and lacrosse for 4 years. She even ran indoor track her freshman season. So imagine that, 3 sports in college, same year, pre-med. Unbelievable. She was a 4-year starter on the Lax team and captain her senior year. She studied pre-med and Spanish in the honors program. She earned all Patriot academic honors for 4 years in both field hockey and Lax, and was elected to the NFHCA National All-Academic Squad in 1993 for field hockey. She compiled a team and career-high 15 interceptions in her final ECAC field hockey game and was awarded the Holy Cross Unsung Hero Award for lacrosse at graduation. After graduating from Holy Cross, Kate attended Georgetown University Medical School. As a Syracuse guy, I'm not going to hold that against you. She met her husband, Andy Ayers, who was also a college athlete, playing both football and lacrosse. Kate and Andy and her family now live in Hamilton, Massachusetts, and practice medicine for Mass General Brigham Hospital as an internist and orthopedic surgeon, respectively. They have 4 children who were very involved in sports and music in their community. Michael's an All-American lax player at Tufts. Ginny is a high school and a hockey and high school All-American lax player, just starting at Johns Hopkins. Lucy's a competitive dancer, as well as a senior field hockey and lax captain. And Tommy's a freshman in high school playing football, hockey, and baseball, as well as the viola. I think we got to get you guys to move down to New Canaan with all these athletes coming through the pipeline. I wish her kids could be here now to hear how cool her mom is, but something tells me they already know. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating Dr. Kate Dawson Ayers.
Thank you very much, Terry. I appreciate that. It was a lot to listen to. I'm sure you're bored with it as well. Thank you so much for having me here today. I know, like all the other talented honorees here, that I share such incredible memories of my 4 years at New Canaan High School. I was pretty sure I had long been forgotten when I was surprised to get the email from Terry. And I'm not going to lie to you, when the heading said Old Timers, I thought that maybe he was looking to get some of us back to perhaps speak to some of the people at the Waveney Nursing Home about our experience as Rams in New Canaan. I pictured a gathering of these older women being wheeled in wheelchairs. I was a candy striper there, so I have an intimate knowledge of that place. And then I read on and realized that I was the old timer. In all seriousness, though, this is more meaningful recognition for me than I think anyone here probably realizes. I moved here with my family, as Terry said, in 1977, and we still had our family home at 83 Stonehenge Drive until we had to sell it after my mom passed away from complications of a car accident in 2018. I so wish she could be here today. I am blessed to have some of her friends here, which mean the world to me. Her best friends, Linda Twombly and Betsy Swanhouse Cattell and Gail Stewart, I saw here earlier today. They all had children go through New Canaan High School as well, so there are, as you say, many connections. My mother was a lifelong Ram supporter. I think many of you might have known her. She volunteered at the office my 4 years and got to know everyone. She brought in so many trays of sandwiches and breakfast pastries to the office that after I graduated, she had several letters from the businesses wondering when they would see her again and thanking her for her patronage over the 4 years. She attended many of these old-timer events and Hall of Fame inductions and kept me up to date on all things Rams, and I would not be here today if not for her love and support. New Canaan was an incredible community to grow up in, and my time at New Canaan High School was the highlight of my years here. We were an active family of 5 children, all involved in youth sports, and my dad, like any good father, volunteered to coach. And his first year, he happened to coach one of those boys lacrosse teams that had just started out, possibly the U11s, sponsored by Weed & Duryea. I remember that shirt. Having never played lacrosse or even seen a lacrosse game, he was most proud of this feat. However, as others have alluded to, and when we examined the championship photo, we realized that his winning team was made up of several of these future Division I New Canaan High School lacrosse stars. My dad still claims it was his coaching. We know it was pure talent and blind dumb luck. In addition to town sports, the New Canaan Winter Club was a special place for us and one where we made lifelong friends, but so was New Canaan High School. When I think back on those 4 years, I obviously think about my teammates and friends, the sophomore six in field hockey as we called ourselves that year, Holly Charles, Haley Fowler, Kara Grushner, Kristen Albright, Megan O'Connell, and myself. We just thought it couldn't get any better. But in transferred Andrea Rinaldi. I know you remember her, Maria Tomaselli. She was right off the Jersey Turnpike. She had big hair, bright smile, and a Jersey accent, and was loved by all, especially Coach Wordle and Maria Tomaselli, because she was all kinds of Italian. Despite the incredible teammates for me, it was actually my mentors that stand out the most. In particular, my teachers, coaches, and of course my athletic director, Vin Iovino. I went on to play years of college sports, went to medical school, residency training, but my most influential coach, Sue Shortle, my favorite teachers, Lenore Schneider and Phyllis Schwartz, and my most loved athletic director was Vin Iovino, and they were all here at New Canaan High School. I used to love to stop by the athletic office and just hang out in there. It was the epicenter of my favorite people, and I'm starting to understand now why I was voted biggest brown noser in the yearbook for superlatives that year. Such incredible people and role models were there, and I wanted to be around them as much as I could. In addition to those mentioned above, I would often see Priscilla Schultz, another one of my favorites, coming in through the gym, or Bill Brown wandering the halls, and occasionally a glimpse of Lou Marinelli with a fall football update. Thinking back, I'm sure Mr. Iovino was tired of seeing my face pop through that door. He had a few teenage daughters of his own at that time, and I'm really sure he didn't want another one. But in my defense, I was not the only one there. MB Pickering was also there as well, just as much as I was. It is true that I did have the good fortune of playing different varsity sports, but I'd like to place a quick asterisk by the varsity basketball. I grew up playing ice hockey, and when I got to New Canaan High School, there wasn't a women's ice hockey team, so I was left without a winter sport. And I'll never forget that day in science class when I walked up to the front to hand in my lab, and my teacher at the time, the late, great Tony LaVista, started a conversation with me. And it went something like this. Kate, I heard from Coach Shortle you're a pretty good athlete and kind of fast. I'm wondering if you want to go out for hoops. And my response was something like this. Thank you so much, Mr. LaVista, but I don't play basketball. And what I mean by that is I have never played basketball. And it was at this moment that his eyes started to sparkle and the smile like only Tony LaVista had crossed his face. And he said, Kate, I need bodies. I need you to prevent people from getting the ball. And no matter what happens, don't shoot. Although not being able to play hockey was a disappointment for me, it allowed me to play basketball with some incredibly talented women and run indoor track for Diane Benjamino and Lenore Schneider, sharing incredible moments with 3 other girls on the relay team at that state open meet in Yale. Women's lacrosse was also just on the cusp, and we were sort of on the outside looking in. We're not part of the FCAC, as Terry has said, and we had only played a handful of games, but we did have a good season that year. And I'm happy for that opportunity because it did allow me to play at Holy Cross. Fortunately, field hockey was established here when I came to New Canaan High School, and the dynamic duo of Sue Shortle and Maria Tomaselli, it could not get any better than that. We did, as Terry said, had a couple good seasons. We won the FCAC in my my sophomore and senior year, had a terribly disappointing loss to Staples in a double overtime penalty shootout. But the highlight for me was definitely the FCAC victory my senior year over Greenwich. It was like the USA-Russia 1980 Olympic matchup, except Miracle on Ice, it was Miracle in the rain. The pouring rain and wet, muddy fields slowed Greenwich down just enough that we could beat them. And it wasn't even close. We took it to them, 3-0. Thank God we had such terrible fields at New Canaan High School back then. I really think that played a crucial role in us beating them in the rain. I am so fortunate to have had all these pivotal experiences and to have met such extraordinary people at New Canaan High School. It's no wonder that so many of my classmates have returned here to live, raised their children here, and send them to New Canaan High School. I love hearing about their successes, and I love that the students play multiple sports in a time when it is increasingly more difficult due to the club teams. I would have loved to have had my 4 children experience this magical place. Unfortunately, they are busy today playing sports of their own in high school and college and were unable to attend. but at least now they will actually believe that their mom did play a sport. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart for giving me a reason to dust off the crate of newspaper clippings my mother had kept and stroll down memory lane. I am truly thankful for the opportunity to come here today, especially with this incredible group of honorees. And I want to thank all of the wonderful people at New Canaan High School who touched my life in ways I am sure they never ever realized. Thank you.
I was going to do an intro to our next honoree, and I was comparing notes with the one who's actually going to speak, and it would have been a lot of repetition because this next honoree is a legend. The things he did on the basketball court are still being spoken of today. The one thing I will say before I call up the presenter for Don Overbeck is that the greatest thing Don did was leave a legacy. And when I look out and I see Brian, Chris, and Scott, I can honestly say that your dad would have been very proud of you as the athletes that you were, but he would have been even more proud of the men that you have become. It's my honor to introduce Don Overbeck's best friend, his teammate, his brother, not his real brother, but his brother from another mother, Mr. Gary Libertor.
Thank you, Terry. I can't tell you what an honor it is for me to be up here speaking about my good friend and former teammate, Don Overbeck. New Canaan struck gold when the Overbeck family moved in to New Canaan, and I'm not kidding. For the next 20 years, between Don, his wife Gail, and his 3 sons, they graced our athletic fields and gyms and left a lasting legacy, and for that, all New Canaan is very proud and honored to have known you. The first time I met Don Overbeck, or heard the name Don Overbeck, a police car pulls up to my house, and it's Officer Nick Peer, who also taught driver's ed. He gets out of the car and says, "Hey, a basketball player just moved into town. I gave him a lesson early this morning." Now, he emphasized basketball because basketball was the leading sport in the school. Everybody tried out for the basketball team. They were the most successful team, and they did great. And football was good too, but football just ended. You play your 7 games. There was no Thanksgiving Day game, no FCAC, no state tournament. It just ended. But basketball, you had a chance of winning the state tournament. So the next day, actually, like any small town, anytime an athlete, especially a good athlete, moves into town, or a pretty girl moves into town, word spreads throughout the town. And I must have got 6 or 7 phone calls that weekend. And I had a chance to meet Don the next school day. And you couldn't help but like the guy. He had that infectious personality, always smiling. I never saw Don without a smile on his face. He had that presence about him, and he made everybody around him feel comfortable, and he was just great to me. But I have to be honest with you. I had a tinge of jealousy about meeting him after he left for a couple of reasons. First of all, he was a lot better looking than I was. No, I'm serious, he was. Seriously. He was a lot better looking than I was. He dressed like he just got out of a Brooks Brothers catalog. I mean, everything matched, everything was perfect, hair was never out of place. Third, he had the perfect physique for an athlete. Between 6'1", 6'2", muscular. If he didn't play soccer, he would have been an outstanding defensive back on your football team, because those athletes in my opinion, are the best athletes on the field, defensive backs on the football team. He would have done that. But to add injury to insult, he dated the best looking and prettiest girl in all of New Canaan High School, Gail Davidson. And Gail, in her own right, very popular, homecoming queen, captain of the cheerleaders. And one thing I have to say about the cheerleaders back then, if you didn't make the team, if you tried out for the team and didn't make it, you were on suicide watch. I mean it. You had to have special counseling and everything. That's how important it was to cheer for the football and basketball team. But so Don had everything going for him, but the quality I most admire about Don, he was an excellent teammate. A teammate who would sacrifice personal success for team success. And he had a great year. He can shoot, he can handle the ball, he can rebound, he can play defense, and he can score. And Coach Murphy would always put him on the toughest opponent, the best player on the other team. So it was the first year of the FCAC, 1961-62. A brand new conference was formed called the FCAC Conference, who 60 years later is the best organized, best run conference in New England and one of the tops in the whole country. And that was the first year of the FCAC. Well, they didn't have a football championship until 5 years later, but the showcase event was going to be the basketball tournament. And we as players, we didn't think much of it because we didn't know how big it was going to be. All we thought about, if we win our division, you got a chance to play an extra game at the end of the year, so we look forward to that. So anyway, we win our division, and Don was fantastic the whole year. He more than lived up to advanced billing, believe me. And Danbury High School wins their division, so there's going to be a championship game down at McMahon High School, brand new. At the time, it held 1,500 people. Now, because of the fire regulations, I don't think it holds 800 people, but back then it did hold 1,500 people. So radio stations, WNLK from Norwalk and WSDC from Stanford are building up the game. And so now we're getting excited. Hey, this is going to be a big thing. This is going to be a big thing. So now it's the night of the game, and Don got a kick out of this because we used to travel by coach. We didn't go by school bus. We used to travel by coach. Bathrooms on the bus, reclining seats, stereophonic sound. We used to go on the coach. So it's the night of the game, and we're in our ties and jackets, ready to go down to McMahon. We get on the bus, and this was a regular school bus this night. We're sitting there ready to go. The bus shuts down. The bus shuts down. Now, New Canaan didn't have a system back then, a bus system. We got to get our buses from Fitzgerald on the Norwalk Darien line. So by the time the bus came, it was about 7:20, and the game starts at 7:30. So we're loading the bus, and Coach Murphy, you all know Coach Murphy, he'd be standing out there, fixing your tie, brushing your hair every time you got on the bus, fixing your collar, and you get on the bus. Not once all year did he have to do anything to Don Overbeck. That's how impeccable that guy was. He should have been on magazine covers. I mean, he was so good looking and everything. So anyway, tonight of the game, we're delayed about 45 minutes. On the bus, coach says, okay, the varsity, you got to get dressed on the bus. So the cheerleaders in the front, they didn't mind. We're getting dressed in the back. Cheerleaders weren't offended. We're getting dressed on the back of the bus. We go to the game. Big crowd, huge crowd. And matter of fact, the biggest crowd to ever see a basketball game in Fairfield County up to that point. Well, we get beat that night. And you know who was on that Danbury team? Vin Iovino. He was a sophomore on that team, athletic director at New Canaan High School, Vin Iovino. So now we have the state tournament, which is the most important thing. FCAC is good, but it's not like the state tournament. We go on to win the state championship up at Yale. Don played spectacular. He made the all-tournament team. So he comes back his senior year. He was only a junior time. He comes back his senior year, has another outstanding year, and then upon graduation, he goes to Trinity College in Hartford, and he scores just under 1,200 points for his career at Trinity. He graduates from Trinity, comes out, gets a job as an investment firm in New York City, marries his high school sweetheart, Gail Davidson, and they have 3 tremendous sons. Well, his firm lets him complete his military obligation, and he goes to Camp Lejeune to complete it. Now, whether it's speculation, luck, or what, but Don develops cancer a few years later and passes away at the young age of 29 years old. Now, if Don were here today receiving this award, he'd be so humble, and he'd thank all his teammates and his coaches and all the people of New Canaan for making him feel so welcome. And I just can't help but think, I know we're not winning any state championship game if Don Overbeck doesn't move in town. Also, Tom Wilhelm, sitting over here, moved into town too, so that helped. 2 starters on the team. He'd be so proud, and thank you very much.
So I'd like to call up Chris, Scott, and Brian. Come on up, and on your father's behalf, Lauren J. Keyes Memorial Honoree, Don Overbeck. Every so often, our little town of New Canaan, again, 20,000 people, somehow finds its way to the national and even sometimes global sports scene. And I mentioned some names earlier. Zach Allen is going to play in about 2 hours for the Denver Broncos. Lucas Niang won a Super Bowl. Kirk Casale, and go back to Pete Demerly getting a shout out by Howard Cosell when he was playing for Notre Dame. Bill Toomey winning the gold medal in the decathlon in 1968. Well, this past March, we added another name to that list when the Sacred Heart women's basketball team won the 2023 NBC Conference Tournament, qualified for the NCAA tournament, and won its first big dance victory in program history. Ladies, please stand up. Sacred Heart women's basketball here today. What an honor. All of this under the guidance of their head coach, who happens to be our next honoree, 1997 New Canaan High School graduate, Jessica Minetti. Jess, she's called New Canaan home for most of her life. As a young girl, she played every sport imaginable and every sport available, excelling at all of them while growing up in the neighborhood of Riverbank Court and Parade Hill Road, which, as everybody knows, is a fertile hotbed and breeding ground for some of the all-time great New Canaan athletes. I see Matt Reddy over there. I see a Panoyer sitting over there as well. Toriano Fredericks. You can go on and on. Jess attended East School, Sachs Middle School, and New Canaan High School, where she lettered in basketball, volleyball, and softball. She was an All-FCAC honoree in all 3 sports and a team captain in basketball and volleyball. As a volleyball player, head coach Priscilla Schultz called Jess, quote, one of the best hitters in the FCAC as far as power is concerned. She didn't mention accuracy, but she did mention power. In basketball, Jess and Eddie led the ranks to the state playoffs in both her junior and senior year and helped lay the groundwork for New Canaan's FCAC playoff berth 3 years later. She was constantly in the scorebook for points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. And in softball, she helped the Ranch to an 11-8 record in 1997 and the first state playoff berth since 1981, prompting head coach Maria Tomaselli, who I hear, surprisingly, to single out Jess for being someone who, quote unquote, comes through big time and time again, as a consistent hitter and a dependable, versatile outfielder. Jess was awarded the New Canaan Rotary Club Award for service to the community, and before graduating, signed a letter of intent to play 3 sports at Concordia College in Bronxville. She was the first president of the varsity club at Canaan High School. That was by design by Vin Iovino. Vinny said she was the perfect person to launch that club. As a 3-sport scholarship athlete in college, Minetti played volleyball, basketball, and softball, served as a team captain for both the volleyball and basketball teams. She graduated from Concordia in 2001 with a dual degree in sports management and business administration, but she never forgot her dream, and that was to coach. She got her first taste of it when she was 15 years old, when she worked a basketball camp here in New Canaan under then head coach Mike Smurlio. In pursuit of that college coaching career, Jess landed an internship with the New York Knicks in their basketball operations department in 2000 and worked as an event staffer for the New York Liberty. She also spent considerable time working with the 5-star basketball in a variety of positions since 1999, where she became the first woman to ever coach in the National Elite Boys Club, where Michael Jordan was discovered. Her dream of coaching became a reality in 2002, when she landed a head coaching position in the New Canaan travel basketball program, leading the 7th and 8th grade girls for 2 years. A veteran of the AAU scene, Minetti served as the head coach of the U18 CT Future Stars girls AAU basketball program from 2004 to 2008. Her first big break came when she served as a head girls basketball coach and softball coach at Greens Farms in Westport from 2004 to 2009. In the 08-09 season, she led the basketball team to a spot in the Fairchester Athletic Association postseason tournament for the first time in school history. In her 5 seasons with Greens Farms, she developed the basketball program from JV status in 2004 to 2005 to leading the Dragons deep into the playoffs into her final campaign. She also led the softball program to their 2nd FAA championship in 2008. In 2009, Jess took an opportunity to coach at the Division I level as an assistant at Hofstra. While there, she helped guide the Pride to a 72-55 record, as well as a pair of appearances in the WNIT. Minetti was proud to coach some unbelievably talented players, including Candace Boyd, who was named the 2012-13 CAA Defensive Player of the Year, and All-American Shantae Evans, who was named to the 2011 USA Basketball Women's Pan Americans Games team. In 2014, Jessica's dream reached new heights when then Director of Athletics Bobby Valentine offered her the position of head women's basketball coach at Sacred Heart in Fairfield. Under Minetti's leadership, the Sacred Heart basketball team has remained one of the top programs in the Northeast Conference. Over the past decade, Minetti has coached 2 NEC Players of the Year, 2 NEC Most Improved Players, 1 Rookie of the Year, multiple All-Conference players, and was named Brenda Ware Coach of the Year in 2016 and Dave Bike Coach of the Year in 2023. She has amassed 148 overall wins and 107 NEC Conference wins. Pioneers have made 4 postseason appearances during her tenure, including 3 appearances in the WNIT in 2016, 17, and 19. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, last year, it all came together for Sacred Heart. After a 1-8 start, the Pioneers went on a tear, going 14-5 the rest of the way, sweeping through the NEC tourney and making histories at the NCAAs. Entering her 20th year of coaching this upcoming season, Minetti is currently a member of the WBCA and sits on the NCAA Regional Advisory Committee, WBCA Conference Captain Board, and serves as a WBCA mentor. As an active member of the community, Jessica enjoys giving back as much as possible to groups and organizations, including the CT Challenge, the Bridgeport Caribe Youth Program, Bridgeport Groundworks, K Out Cancer Fund, Nourish Food Pantry, Horizons, best buddies, and multiple free youth clinics held throughout Fairfield County. She currently resides in Fairfield, enjoys spending time with her mom and sisters, and Rebecca and Ashley, who are here today, and their families. And I have to say, talking to Mr. Iovino this morning, he was talking about all the honorees, and when he got most emotional was when he was talking about Jess, because he brought out a letter that she had written to him 25 years ago when she graduated high school, and he read it to me, and he started crying in the middle of reading it. The fact that Vinny still has that letter, he called it, that's his bonus. These educators, they don't get bonuses. But letters like that Jess wrote, Vinny said, this is my bonus. This is what it's all about. What an honor it is for me to introduce Jessica Minetti.
Holy moly, that's an intro. Who did that?
That's an honoree.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for having me here today. I want to thank the New Canaan Old Timers for this award. It's a really special award. It's brought me back home to a place that's given so much. And I want to thank them for their continued support of the student athletes here in our community and to the Vin Iovino Scholarship Fund. You don't really understand how important that is until after you leave here. And it's an incredible thing that you do to give back. So thank you so much to the Old Timers Association. And also congratulations to all the other honorees here today. What incredible people I get to share this honor with. When Bill Brown called me to tell me that I was a recipient this year to be honored, at first I was absolutely in disbelief. I have been pumping Botox into my face since I was 33. I thought I had everyone fooled. Thank you for the reality check. Thank you. But seriously, the first word that comes to my mind to receive this award is gratitude. I am so grateful, and as I look out upon all the faces here today, my heart is extremely full. I'm sure my team would agree that so far, 2023 has been a pretty incredible year. Right? And I'm so happy that they're here today. Thank you so much for coming on your day off, your one day off. I know we had official visits all weekend. Thank you for taking the time today to come. With that success comes an opportunity to really stop for a moment and think about where you've come from, who you've come with, and how you got here. I graduated from New Canaan High School 26 years ago, and I don't have a childhood memory without our town and our community in it. It feels like yesterday I was attending post-prom right in that ballroom over there. Feels like yesterday we were out here for our senior athletics awards ceremony, being honored by our athletic department. And it was just on this lawn we would watch fireworks with our family and friends. As an athlete, my roots are proudly planted here and strongly planted here. And I can say without hesitation that I wouldn't be here today without the experiences that I had in New Canaan, and more importantly, the people that I shared those experiences with. Our coaches had a special way of making our teams feel like family. Our administration, led by Vin Iovino, instilled a pride in us that we were motivated and inspired by. And our community supported us unconditionally and enthusiastically. New Canaan is a special place. It's one that my heart will always consider home. I was 15 when I knew I wanted to be a coach, a tomboy more obsessed with sports than doing anything impressive in the classroom. You could find me during most free periods, getting shots up in the gym, or talking to my teammates about our next rivalry game or the current game plan. My coaches would probably tell you I was a handful. I was stubborn, loud, competitive, a bad loser, and definitely a little bit too wild. You are not allowed to tell them any of the shit I pulled in high school. Just so you know. We all had our share of moments, but boy did I love sports, and they knew it. My coaches in New Canaan were my mentors, my teachers, my biggest fans, and my harshest critics. and they're now some of my greatest friends. Priscilla Schultz, Mike Smoriglio, Maria Tomaselli. I carry a piece of you in all that I do day in and day out as a coach. My success is your success. I'm so grateful for your patience, because you had to be patient with me, and your guidance and your belief in me. I am living proof that the impact a coach can have can change an athlete's life, because you have changed mine. We were lucky enough in New Canaan that we had a village of people. Coaches like Bill Brown, Paul Gallo, Sue Schwartle, Lou Marinelli, Vin Iovino, Brad Erickson, and countless others all played a part in supporting and empowering a kid with a dream and telling her that she was capable and she could do it. I am fortunate for where I get to be today because I got to stand on the shoulders of giants. And we are all impressed and in admiration of them to this day. So thank you. Participating in athletics is a special experience. The people that we love make countless sacrifices for us. My family, they are my heroes. My mother, my sisters, they are my pillars of strength, my sounding boards. I drive them crazy, and they love me in spite of me, and I am grateful to them. My mother has actually been empowering young women before it became a thing, since 1979. To every friend, every family member, every former teammate who has now become my sister, every assistant coach who has become a friend, this honor is proudly shared with you today in love and gratitude of all you have given. It's not until you look back that you realize how truly lucky you are to come from a place like New Canaan. I get to wake up and do what I love every day at Sacred Heart because of the gifts this community has given me. My hope is to use this opportunity to try and positively impact my players' lives now, the same way that you have impacted mine. I'm honored to receive this recognition from the New Canaan Old Timers Association, and I will do my best to continue to pay it forward and make our community proud. Thank you very much.
It's not often that the greatest player is also the most modest player. But in the case of our final honoree today, pretty much everything was uncommon. Old advertiser reporter Dave Cameron once tagged Chris Silvestri as Mr. Everything. And I think that's the perfect name for him, because everything Chris did was truly great. Did not matter what sport it was. He was the best. It was like watching a man amongst boys. You know, Chris just had a second gear, he had a third gear, he had an intensity that belied his age. He was fearless. And of course, he had that God-given talent that was generational. Give him a glove, give him a bat, give him some cleats. Chris was the best outfielder the Rams had. All FCAC 1993, 1994. Give him a basketball, he'll drain a three from anywhere. If he missed, he'd get his own rebound, dunk it, guaranteed. Give him a lax stick, skates, a bowling ball, ping pong paddle, whatever. I guarantee you no one would be better than Chris. But his legacy was and still is on the gridiron. And what a legacy it is. Chris Silvestri is without a doubt one of the best players to ever come through New Canaan High School. The numbers are eye-popping. Almost as eye-popping as it was to watch him play, to cut through defenses. This tall, kind of skinny running back. You didn't see running backs like that. You know, he was more likely to see him be a quarterback, which he could have been. As a junior, 1992, he ran for 818 yards on 121 carries. That's an average of almost 7 yards a carry. So just give Chris the ball 10 times and you're already in field goal range. He had 3 interceptions that year, including a pick 6. He either threw a 60-yard touchdown pass to Brian Steele. I'm not going to call out that it was actually called back for a penalty, but I think he did get another one that year. I think Coach Marinelli can confirm or deny that, but I can't remember. But that was just the beginning. Chris's senior year was truly historic. He etched his names into the annals of New Canaan football history with possibly the greatest single season ever seen. He ran for 1,891 yards over 12 games to set a single season rushing record. He set a career rushing record of 2,767 yards. That's a record that might never be broken. He has the top 3 games that year for most rushing yards, with 314 yards, single game. People don't get this many yardage in an entire season anymore. 279, and of course, who could ever forget the 304 yards he gained in the state championship game that season against Daniel Hand, helped the Rams. Didn't help the Rams, it won the Rams, their first state championship crown since 1982. As a safety, Chris intercepted 9 passes his senior season. He had 15 career interceptions at New Canaan, and if you were to ask Coach Marinelli, he would tell you, as great of a running back as Chris was, he was an even better defensive back. Hard to believe, but it was true. His attitude, as called out by Vin Iovino when I spoke to him, his attitude was infectious. His confidence, it just impacted everyone. It lifted his teammates up. He led by example. He didn't have to say anything. He just did it. Chris was honored as a Heisman Memorial High School All-Star at the Downtown Athletic Club that year. And he said this. He said, quote, "It's a great honor for me to be selected. The only thing I'm sad about is that the rest of my team could not be here. They deserved it as much as I did." That right there tells you everything you need to know about Chris Silvestri, the person. It tells you everything you need to know about what a true leader is. In that senior season, he earned all FCAC, all state honors. He was the recipient of the Sikorsky Memorial Award. He was named Connecticut Post Player of the Year, USA Today Connecticut Player of the Year. He was the MVP of the state finals, and he won the coveted Gatorade Player of the Year award for the state of Connecticut. The only other player to win that award at New Canaan High School is about to play today, Zach Allen. After New Canaan, Chris went on to play at Lafayette, where he won a Rookie of the Week award and eventually a Patriot League title. He then transferred to Fairfield, where he was named ESPN USA Today Division I AA Defensive Player of the Week. He earned All-American honors and All-Academic honors in his senior campaign, and during his career at Fairfield, he won a MAC title. He earned All-MAC honors twice and was a 2-year captain. He graduated from Fairfield with a BA in philosophy, and after graduation, stayed on to coach, coaching the outside linebackers and the D-backs for 3 years while earning his MA in education. Chris has served as the defensive backs coach and coordinates the defensive secretary at New Canaan High School since 2002. In 2008, New Canaan secondary was one of the best in the state, almost impossible to throw on. The 2008 defense intercepted 24 passes that year and was only scored on twice through the air. Chris was promoted to defensive coordinator in 2014 and won FCAC Assistant Coach of the Year in his first year as a D coordinator. In 2018, he was named Associate Head Coach while maintaining his responsibilities as defensive coordinator. Year after year, New Canaan's hallmark is its defense, one of the best in the state. So I knew coming in, Chris was a great coach, but it wasn't until I was able to actually witness him in action on the sidelines, see how he breaks down offense, just to see how great he truly is. He's got this gift of motivating his players and getting the most out of them. He can take what we call a 12-play kid. And a 12-play kid is a kid who has to have like the minimum amount of plays in the youth leagues. Everybody has to get 12 plays, and so they get this unfair tag of being a 12-play kid. There was a 12-play kid on the team last year. Chris turned it into an all-state player. My one regret with my son's career is that he didn't play defense. I would have loved to have seen him play for Chris. Last year, the whole New Canaan football team got to see Chris in action. There are these great nights. It's called Football with Fran. Fran Marinelli will explain football to the New Canaan moms, all while sipping sodas and juice. And and they're fun nights. The dads are not allowed. It's just the moms, except for the last one, right before the Darien game, right before the Turkey Bowl. Everybody can come, so we all went to Ike Groff's house up on Owen and we got to see the offensive coordinator break down the offense, and they explained the game plan to us. I was like, oh, okay, that looks pretty good. That's good. And then Chris comes up there, and he starts showing us the New Canaan defense. And he's breaking it down in this way that was just, it was just so learnable. It just all made sense. It all kind of came together. My wife, who knows nothing about football, says, oh boy, if Darien tries to throw that screen pass, they're screwed. And I said, we got that guy sealing off the edge, and if they try and go downfield, they can't do it. Over the top is, they got coverage over the top, and we're going to rotate this guy over here. And I'm looking at her like, who are you? She's like, oh, I'm ready to go. I put some shoulder pads on the helmet. I'm going to hit somebody. But don't hit me. But that's Chris. Chris gets everybody motivated. He gets the team pumped up. After we won the championship last year, Chris on the sidelines, he dropped to his knees and then sprung up and went 12 feet in the air. I don't know how he did it. He made Pete Townsend and David Lee Roth look lazy. I mean, it was unbelievable. He still got it. On top of all this, Chris, he's one of the most respected teachers at Canaan High School. He's an assistant coach of the girls' basketball team. He coaches in the NCYF. Married to his wife Danielle, son Charlie, daughter Olivia. They're here today, along with his wonderful family. His dad John, mom Judy, sister Kim, brother Steve. We're truly blessed to have the Silvestris here in town. And Chris, he's probably going to give the shortest speech of the day, maybe. He's just that modest. He won't talk about himself. He gives credit to everyone else. So I will say it for him. Chris, you are indeed Mr. Everything. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Chris Silvestri.
For being a great running back, I did hear yesterday when we were at Gail Overbeck's service that apparently I wasn't the best. Maybe Scott Overbeck was. So I thought that was a very nice thing. Old Timers, thank you so much for this honor. It really is. And thank you for letting me be allowed into this family. And the other honorees, wow. I mean, just amazing people. Congratulations to you guys. Well-deserved and awe-inspiring. I'm going to be pretty short, but I do want to talk a little bit about family. Without the support of my mom and my dad, who I get to coach with every day, this doesn't happen. My sister was a great volleyball player. I used to go to her high school games all the time. That kind of got me the bug to actually be a good high school athlete and work at stuff. My brother is my best friend. We compete and root for each other every time we get together. And that's family. My football family, I got my football team here. It was very touching that you guys came. They're the ones, we're coaches, but they're the ones who do it, and I never forget that. I never forget that I was once in their shoes and how tough it is and how together they have to be through an entire season, an entire practice in order to be successful. And no one does that better than or gets the kids to play more than Coach Marinelli, the football staff, John Cornelius, Jason Missa, Frank Alcamone, Frank Rabassa. All of those guys are my family. And I got a family over here with my student athletes that I am able to coach and teach. I'm thankful for them every day. I've got an amazing staff that I'm a family with. And now my old timer family, and I appreciate that, I really do. My teammates in high school, if I could just say something, we had guys who were going to play college football and they were linemen. And anyone could have done what I was able to accomplish. In fact, I was not even a starter as a running back my junior or my senior year. Injuries occurred to the starters. And there are three abilities that I believe in. And the first ability is availability. I was available. And then second one was dependability. I felt I was dependable. I knew where I needed to go. And the last one was accountability. When I made a mistake, I'd fix it. And I truly believe in those three abilities is what you need. You need to be available. When that guy goes down, you've got to be available and you got to know what to do. I strongly believe in that. I'm going to just finish off real quick. This is all about relationships. And the relationships that we create in New Canaan High School, with your family, your friends, is one big relationship. And I firmly believe you're going to be happy, you got to grow those relationships. I'm nowhere in life without my wife, Danielle, my daughter, Olivia, and my son, Charlie. You guys are in Japan they call it an ikigai, the reason for what you wake up for in the morning. And I just wanted to thank you guys very much. Thanks to Jay Egan, Vin Iovino, tremendous administrators that I've had in my career. Teachers that I teach with, like Priscilla, who was once my teacher, now she's my colleague. She is incredible. It's not even work when I go to school. Lenny Paglialonga, Dennis Paglialonga, we played softball together. I mean, it's great stuff, and it's an honor. It truly is. So, without further ado, let's eat. All right. Thanks, guys.
That does conclude the honoree ceremony portion of today. There is food and there's lunch inside the house. Once again, can we just have one more round of applause for all of our honorees? Thank you so much for coming, everybody. Can't wait to see you again next year. Thank you.